What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and for this video, I thought I would do something a little different. I want to rank the 6 sports games in Nintendo Switch Sports from least to best, or I guess least favorite to best favorite, however you want to say it. But I've done, obviously I've played the game. I actually made this list. I co-wrote this list with my 8-year-old daughter, and funny enough, we actually lined up exactly. Did I have some influence on her? Maybe a little, but honestly, no, we really had a pretty similar view of which games were the most fun, which games kind of lack, or maybe they're too weird, or maybe the Switch doesn't pick something up. So I want to go over case by, each one. I want to go over the reason why. So we're going to start at number 6, and we're going to go all the way up to number 1. Number 6, we're going to give to fencing in this game. Fencing is solid. I like the idea, but it's too finicky, I would honestly say, is the thing. It also doesn't have much depth because I guess you could argue, well, there's different sword strikes. You can literally strike, you can strike up and down, you can strike diagonal, you can strike side to side. And I guess you can strike in any other somewhat variation. You block, you can really block in 3 different ways, and that's kind of it. Then it's just hit the other person 5 to 6 times from your middle starting point off the edge. It's simplistic, but it's also not, because I find, and maybe it's distance to the TV, maybe it's connection to the Switch. You can give it whatever excuse you want to give it. This one is easily the most problematic. It's a lack of a better word, in terms of the Switch picking up, or the game picking up what your Joy-Con is doing. Okay, so for me, volleyball, like literally every other of the five sports, it feels like it knows what I'm doing. For this one, and maybe it's actually because of the pinpoint accuracy, if you're blocking up and down and you strike them up and down, that will hit them back. If you're blocking up and down and you strike side to side, they will block it. But the issue is the in-between, that 90-degree angle, the in-between to that is very hard for the Switch to pick up, where you'll think you're blocking, or you'll think you'll strike and hit them, and you won't. You'll think you're blocking and you won't block, or you think you'll strike and you'll hit them and you don't do it, because the Switch doesn't pick up perfectly how you want to swing. Specifically, side-to-side strikes, you have to do the weirdest angle with your hand with the Joy-Con to get the Joy-Con to recognize that you literally want it on a flat plane, that you want to go flat. Because if you even have a slight angle to it, it actually registers as a diagonal strike, which again, when you're blocking, makes a big difference. So yeah, it is a little like technical, I guess, but I just find it to be, it's simplistic in the way that it's like 5 hits and you're done, and you win 2 out of 3. There is 3 different swords you can pick from, so I guess there's a little bit more stuff there. So it's simplistic in that way, but then it's also where the Switch really doesn't help you. It doesn't pick stuff up, and it really, I think, hurts that overall level or mode. The next one is soccer. Now, this is really, fencing to me is the only one that's almost unlikable, where like I actively don't want to play it. Soccer is fun. It's just, I believe the leg wrap, where you can wrap around your leg and kick, that only works for shootouts. There is going to be a patch where they add it to the actual game, and the game is fun. I like the idea. I like kicking and scoring goals and all that stuff. The issue to me, again, with this game is the shootouts are okay, but it's literally just you're kicking the ball. There is no goalie. You just have to aim properly. You kick like 5 balls and you're done. And then the actual game itself, when you're playing against the AI, this is maybe shocking for a Nintendo game like this, the AI is very dumb. Okay, the AI is borderline, like they shouldn't be on a soccer field, and they don't pass it to you when you're open. The way they run, if it's the player closest to the goal, they will just make a beeline right to the goal instead of going for the ball that's heading to the goal to kind of like cut them off. They will not make anywhere near smart decisions. Like, my 8-year-old daughter makes smarter decisions easily, regularly in the game than they make in it. So and that makes it almost unplayable. And then again, the shootout stuff just isn't enough really to, make up for it. So like 1v1 is fine, I guess, but when you get to like the bigger teams battling each other in soccer, I don't know. Again, it's not necessarily unlikable, but when me and my daughter play together, my daughter and I, we really do skip these first 2. Also, we only have 2 Joy-Cons that actively work. Another 2 are kind of like they're on their way out, so you can't play two players because you need both the Joy-Cons to play. Both two Joy-Cons is one player, and then you need 4 in all to play with 2. We don't have that, so we can't play it together. Maybe that enhances it, but and maybe it would because you could do like 1v1. But if you don't do 1v1, you still have AI, and AI honestly I think breaks that sport. Next up is tennis. Now tennis is a lifelong favorite, right? Tennis is it's ageless. It is fun. The thing with tennis, and the reason I put it here, well, number one, all of the other 3 sports are better. But also the reason why I put it behind badminton is because this is so simplistic that it actually makes it less fun by a mile, in my opinion, than badminton because you just hit. It's all based on timing. There's little to no aiming. That's it. I mean, it's hard to argue that tennis is bad, and I'm not really arguing that because, again, tennis has been around since Wii Sports. Everybody loves tennis, right? It's one of the hallmarks of our childhood if you have the Wii. I'm not arguing against that. The issue is when you put other sports where you hit an object with some sort of racket, some object with some racket, something that you're holding, when you add another sport like that, which the original didn't have, you actually make it where it's like, oh, tennis is actually too simplistic, where I actually like the other one more. That's really all it is. Tennis is fun. We do play it together. We do like it. It's not a negative thing. It's just, ironically, when they added a sport that is close enough to tennis, they actually hurt tennis because that other sport is better. Does that make sense? It's actually kind of weird. Next up is bowling. Bowling has to be, up here. I kind of pushed for this, okay, in my ranking, in my daughter's ranking. I said, well, what about bowling? Bowling is just so calming. In my opinion, it's the easiest. You just have to kind of find that sweet spot, aim straight as you're throwing your Joy-Con, and, you're going to get spares and strikes. It's a childhood favorite. I loved it back in the day. I still love it now. I do things in bowling that I can never do in real life. Okay, my average in bowling without whatever they're called to help me with the ball, which I still use maybe to this day, is probably like 80 to 90. I suck at bowling. But in this game, in the fictional reality that we call Nintendo Switch Sports, I can get closer to 200 or 200 plus, which I can never do in my normal day-to-day life. Therefore, I'm living a life that's impossible, right now, and I'm going to give it bonus points for that. No, I mean, bowling's simplistic. Again, once you get that sweet spot, you could try different things. It obviously has the mode where there's the obstacles blocking it. I love it. I've always loved bowling. I had to put it high up, and we do. We enjoy playing it as well in this game too. Next up is badminton. Again, really. So the reason I guess I'd put this here is it's got way more skill involved. There's way better aiming. There is kind of making the birdie kind of like nosedive on the other person. There's spiking it where it goes faster, where the speed is increased. It's just it's also just based off the game itself. It's smaller. It's contained, right? It's 1v1 in the case that I play my daughter, and it's a very small enclosed I guess field or court, right, where you're not running around as much. And I guess what I'm saying is when you're playing it, when you're standing up playing it, you're hitting far more frequently. You know what I mean? It goes back and forth way, way, way quicker than it does for tennis. Also, I feel like in this game, it's got a bigger hit box or bigger hit range where if you hit, now again, hitting it at the right time will impact the speed of the birdie. But also, I just feel like if you're not as good, you can hit it a little bit before, a little bit after, and the game will give it to you. Whereas tennis, I found it doesn't. You do have to hit it very much at the right little range, or it won't give it to you. Small, it doesn't actually affect me. It would affect my daughter, right? In terms of her and I can go back for like 2-3 minutes in one round. Like we can keep hitting it back and forth. She can do that. In tennis, she'll sometimes miss some of the easier shots, because again, you have to kind of hit it in the right range. So you have that in terms of simplicity, but then also again, there is that skill where the aiming is so much better in this one. Again, speed matters. There's other strategies involved. It's good. And again, I think I far want this one. I far would take this one over tennis. And it's odd because it's like when I first heard about the game, or even when the first time we turned it on, it's like, okay, well, these two sports are very closely aligned. Is that going to hurt one or the other? Is it going to make us want to play one less? I thought it would actually not hurt tennis. Turns out it did. It was actually the reverse of my prediction. So that's where I'm going to put badminton. And the last one is volleyball. This one, I kind of sensed it just from the very first time. Again, simplistic in a way, but also this one makes you move more than any others in terms of like you can see my living room over there. Makes you move more than you do in any other one. It actually is a little complicated in terms of getting the right movement. You have a little control over your character, right? When you jump up to block, you can move just a little, and then you're kind of locked in. So you have to kind of find the right spot, I guess, in the time period it lets you. Same thing for when you're doing the bump. You have a little leeway of where you can move to kind of anticipate the hit. So it's got that complexity. But again, my daughter, an 8-year-old, okay, can do it. And we can actually go back quite a lot. Again, nailing it at the right times, right? Nailing the bump set or spike just at the right time, or a perfectly planned block, all can impact the ball's speed. I mean, there's a lot of fun there. And the game is we scream. I know maybe I'm screaming at the mic right now. That's just how I talk. But we legitimately scream, or at least my daughter does, when we're playing this, because it's just, it's high energy. It's high, you know what I mean? Just everything's kind of enhanced. It's, to be honest with you, badminton and this are the only two ones that do that. Now, bowling is supposed to be a little bit more chill. I don't think you're supposed to be screaming as you bump set. I don't think you're supposed to be screaming when you're throwing a ball into a lane. But these two do that, specifically volleyball. And this was actually overwhelming. We both said, like, I asked my daughter, I said, for this list, I'm going to make a list. I want to hear your list. But first, give me your least favorite and give me your favorite. And immediately her least favorite was fencing and her favorite was volleyball. Immediately, that was her top. So there was no influence from me. I think that's very fair. Now, do you take a 25-year-old and an 8-year-old at their word? I don't know. That's up to you. But let me know what your ranking is in the comments below. We'll see where golf is. Golf, obviously another childhood favorite, should rank in the top 3 or 4, I would imagine. But let me know what you think. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you guys on tomorrow's video.